If there were not traffic signals or four-way stop signs at busy intersections, a lot more people would be killed at such intersections. If there were not laws against texting while driving, a lot more people would get killed on the road. If there were not laws against drunk driving, a lot more people would be killed on the road. Well, those are just a couple examples of how laws don't exist just to keep us from selfishly doing what we please, but to protect us and others. And there are not any circumstances that I can think of when it would be a good idea to suspend any of those laws or laws like them. Now, we know that in the sacrament of baptism, we are saved. We know that in the sacrament of confirmation, we accept for ourselves Jesus as our personal Lord and Savior. But I think that most of us go through a stage or stages in our lives when there are times that we come to think of religion more as something whose rules restrict us from selfishly doing what we want to do, instead of something that helps us stay on a path to imitate Jesus. Do we do that on purpose? I don't think so. But it is always about us and not about anything that's wrong with the faith or the rules or with God. Now, as a good Jewish boy, certainly Jesus appreciated the commandments of God as being a reflection of God's love and care for his people and wanting them to protect them and wanting them to protect them from each other. And he certainly appreciated the religious rules of his day as intended to keep God's people on a path leading them to keep love and gratitude and worship of God high on their radar at all times. But then in the story, like the one in today's gospel passage, Jesus makes it clear that situations are going to arise when moral rules can take a backseat to religious faith. One such rule in his day detailed what one could and could not do and still comply with God's commandment to keep holy the Sabbath. So it was on the Sabbath that Jesus and his disciples were walking through a wheat field. Well, they had walked miles and had worked hard all day. They were tired. They were hungry. They were just trying to replenish their energy so they could carry on their work with Jesus. So they pulled the heads of grain, the heads off the grain to eat as they walked along. Well, they happened to be seen doing this by other strict Jews, this group of Pharisees, who condemned them for harvesting the grain on the Sabbath. As far as they were concerned, Jesus' disciples had been thoughtless and broken the laws of God and deserved to be punished accordingly. So in the defense of his disciples, Jesus reminded their accusers of the time that King David and his soldiers were on the run from King Saul, who was trying to kill them, and they were starved for food, and David felt compelled to himself consume and to give his men the consecrated loaves of bread from the holy altar, which were supposed to be consumed only by the Jewish priests. And then Jesus continued his point by saying, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. In other words, Jesus, while telling them that, yes, rules are important, they serve to make us be reminded of things that we need to be reminded of. But he was telling them God's highest priority is on taking care of the genuine life-sustaining needs of people. So questions of our conduct should be settled in the light of how selfless it is in taking care of those needs and what we can do to help satisfy them. So let's continue now with our prayers of the faithful. Please stand.